shakele love. So love when I wanna get another one, I go take and do waiting I love, waiting you love, oh. No be waiting I love, oh. Waiting I love, I go do what with all my heart, oh. Go no be vodka, I'm on the ginger, but when I know I know the ways that.
Hello, good evening, ladies and gentlemen around the world. Welcome to the Direct Talk Show. As you know, every Sunday, 7 p.m. UK time, we bring to your homes, to your screens, on your social media, on YouTube, wherever you are watching us from, we bring our Direct Talk to you. The Direct Talk is a program that has been designed purposely to educate you, inform you about the issues going on in our motherland, Ghana. You can join the conversation by putting in your question via our Facebook page or our WhatsApp number or our YouTube channel, and we will do our very best to read your comments and your questions. Today, we've got a very interesting topic to discuss. On the 7th of this month, that is February 2024, the Vice President and the flag bearer of NPP, the ruling party of Ghana, made some statement. And the statement that he made was done at University of Professional Studies. And that statement outlined his vision for Ghana if elected as the president of Ghana in the upcoming general election. He made a couple of things that I want us to be looking at in regards to the speech or the things that he said. And for Ghana, what he wants to do and how he's going to do that. So without wasting much of your time, get something to drink whilst you are watching us live on Facebook and YouTube. On Facebook, you can see us live on Have Your Take Media, and on YouTube it's HYT African TV. Invite a brother and invite somebody to be watching us as well. Share the link with your friends and your family. Today, I've got 4 panelists on the show to help me discuss the speech that was given by Dr. Bawumia, the Vice President of Ghana and the current flag bearer of NPP, the New Patriotic Party, the ruling party of Ghana. To help me do the discussion, I've got Chairman Comrade Damba. He is the Comrade Damba, who is the chairman of NDC and Ireland chapter, the UK NDC chairman for UK and Ireland. And I've got Ken Johnson. Ken Johnson is also the president of Pro Forum UK. And I've got Elijah Timot. He's a pharmacist in the UK. And I've got Richard Ahija, also a Pro Forum member from the US. But before our panelists begin to speak, I've got a video that I'm going to share which those of you who are unable to watch Bawumia's speech, we're not gonna play all the entire video, but we're gonna highlight on some of the key aspects of the video and of the speech. And as we proceed, I will be giving you some of the key points that he talked about in his speech and his vision for Ghana if elected as president of Ghana. So sit back, relax, and watch the video. And after that, we will zoom into the discussion. As I said, you can be part of the discussion by sending in your questions, your comment via our Facebook channel or our YouTube channel, or via directly to our WhatsApp channel. Thank you for listening and thank you for being here with us. Sit back and let's watch the video, and we'll be right back.
At this stage, salute and give particular recognition to the Bank of Ghana, which has come under unfair criticism for taking the necessary measures which help pull the economy back from the brink. The Bank of Ghana provided needed financing to the government at that critical moment. See toilets, Amamu. Yeah, see toilets. In all, yeah, see 8-unit toilets, 4 8-unit toilets, 32 toilets in all. They take your IC. This government, they put delivery trackers, also toilet. Toilet with district assembly, them work. Why national government, they tell people waiting you do, then toilet in the district assembly. That one we know the counter.
Look at the economic management team. It is quite clearly a fantastic team. Professor Jambafo, Dr. Akotose, Dr. Afriye Akoto, Honorable Alan Chiramanting, Boachi Ejaku, Ken Oforiata, Senior Minister Yao Osafo Mafu. What a solid team. In fact, can anyone remember the NDC economic management team? I'm sure they themselves cannot remember who their economic management team was. Kukrudu, fellow Kukrudites, we were elected to fix the problems, and I'm glad to report that we are fixing the problems and we are putting in place the policies that will drive the economic transformation of this country. It is very clear that the economy is beginning to respond to the policies of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo.
And the fuel price is a cost.
Yeah, so
Obibeka, hypocrisy, dishonesty. What are you doing for political capital? The fuel price wars.
Oh yes, but I think
are you also incompetent, uncaring, unfeeling? Have you also thrown all reasonable feelings to the dogs?
Kwame,
yes, sir.
I stand by those statements, those words in the first place. But I think that let's put this in context, Wati. Because we had a government that put us through 4 years of doom so. That is very, very difficult for businesses, for individuals, for the productivity of the nation as a whole. Yeda sunsumo, 4 years. Between 2016 or 2017 and 2019, average increases of 13.5%. So we have increased at about half, more than less than half what they have done, what they did. So it's a complete difference. But not only did we increase fuel prices, that is fine, but we had brought at a much lower rate. In addition to that, we reduced electricity prices. We restored teacher training allowance. We restored nursing training allowance. We changed that. We paid the teachers arrears from the 2 to 3 months one. We cancelled that policy. We've restored the NHIS back from the cash and carry state that it was in. We brought NAPCO to cushion graduate unemployment. So if you take it in context, the management of the economy generally and the provision to cushion people from hardships allowed the country to bear this increase in the fuel price, the lower increase in the fuel price, much better. Of course, we are talking about a 13.5 increase on average by us, but a much.
John Mahama says he has a new idea. And what is the new idea? He says he wants a 24-hour economy. 24-hour economy. He doesn't even understand that policy. Today in Ghana, our hospitals work 24 hours. Our electricity company works 24 hours. Our water company works 24 hours. Our phone companies work 24 hours. Many job bars work 24 hours. Isn't it? Today, because of digitalization, the banks, you can transfer money 24 hours. You can receive money 24 hours. Isn't it? So he doesn't understand his own policy. It does not make
global phenomena. Skip Cote d'Ivoire and all the surrounding countries and only attack Ghana. How? How does it happen?
We have faced the problem of fake birth certificates and the bureaucracy and corruption at the birth registry. So what we have done is to digitalize the processes at the birth and link their systems with the Ghana Health Service.
MPP, Yambai, Nanado Dankwa Kofuado, Yabai. Yedi impuntu bebre aba Ghana mine. Obia be totals. Ohane edune bako. 111 hospitals are YBC. Sa jima ye no. Ebinsi da wagana ha.
Where I want to see us go in the next few years is to move public transport completely from a dependence on petrol and diesel to fully electric vehicles. That is really where Ghana ought to go.
And the capital said, economic management team, your chairman, Dr Bawumia. Now, sir, only for COVID now we say, oh, it's less food diet. Oh, it's a food diet. Oh, man, who and food oh, man, what you know.
Welcome back to the show. You are watching the Director's Show, 7 p.m. every 7 p.m. UK time. We come your homes with this particular show discussing issues going on in Ghana. Today we are looking at a speech that was given by His Excellency Dr. Bawumia, the Vice President of Ghana and the current flag bearer of MPP, the New Patriotic Party, the ruling party. According to his speech that was given on the 7th of February this year, Dr. Bawumia pointed at some of the things that he's going to do if elected as the president of Ghana. Now, without wasting much of your time, I've got the panelists on the show, and I'm just going to give them, a few time for them to talk about what the video that we just watched in regards to the speech that he gave and the vision that he has outlined for Ghana. So you can add your question, you can bring in your suggestion as we proceed. So the first person that I'm going to call upon is Chairman Conrad. So what do you think about Bawumia's vision for Ghana and the speech that he gave. We'll be highlighting on, some of the key aspects as we proceed, and the video that we just watched. So what is your take on that, sir?
Thank you very much, Dr. Austin. A very good evening to you and to my fellow panelists, my senior-most comrades, Comrade Richard Ahilija, Comrade Elijah, and Comrade Ken Johnson. Very senior comrades. I'm privileged to be amongst your midst today, and very grateful to be in your hot seat today, Doc. And of course, very much full of gratitude to our cherished listeners who have tuned in to listen to us, try and take our views on Dr. Bawumia's so-called path to nowhere. Now, for me, it's very difficult to even begin to think of what Dr. Bawumia said, mainly because it looks like Dr. Bawumia did not take himself serious. Not only did he not take himself serious, he didn't take the good people of Ghana serious. You would be forgiven to say, to assume that what Dr. Bawumia did is basically, if you like, a musician who's out there with a good beat, but with no lyrics at all. In fact, I think it was Dr. Hassan Ayarga that said Bawumia was behaving like a DJ on the podium, moving his body about, issuing goofouts, as Dr. Otoniedu would say, whilst lying through his teeth, utterly, if you like, pronouncing very basic and embarrassing lies. So embarrassing that even some in the audience could not fathom exactly what was happening. And therefore, I mean, initially at the beginning of the speech, I was wondering why was the president of the republic, who appointed Bawumia as his vice, not there? Why was the finance minister not there? Why was the minister of all ministers, Gabriel Chidako, not there? But as the man started rattling off, then I realized that no, they didn't want to embarrass themselves. You could be forgiven when you look at the speech that Bawumia gave to think that it was some level 100 economic student who's yet to be taught his first lesson in Econs 101, who wrote that speech for him, and in a haste, he did not go ahead and even read it before going to read it out. Hope at least it was not plagiarized, but the originality you would see was one of deceit. This is a speech for which I think Pinocchio would have been very, very, very excited about. You know, if Dr. Bawumia was the actual Dr. Pinocchio, I'm sure by the time he finished his speech, his nose would have been so long, it would have been protruding out of the main entrance of that hall. You go through the document that Dr. Bawumia himself put forward, and you see a concerted effort to hoodwink the good people of Ghana with a litany of falsehood, half information, deliberately carving things out in order to be able to paint a position that really does not exist. For example, and I will start with what he thinks he achieved, touch on a few of them, and then go to what he claims he wants to achieve. You go into Dr. Bawumia, he tells us, oh, they have achieved a lot. And the very, very first sentence, the very, very first paragraph, I mean, forget the first two paragraphs. You go down to his first paragraph where he actually starts trying to talk about something substantive, and you realize that the man clearly did not know what he was talking about. You look at paragraph 5 of his sentence, his speech, and he goes on about the fact that they inherited a declining economy and that they had to reverse it. And I'm asking, this guy really does not know what he's talking about. Which declining economy is he talking about? Because when you look at the very document that our IMF people, remember, we went to the IMF for a bailout in 2015. And anytime you go to the IMF for any such bailouts, one of the first things they will do is they will do some projections. And among those projections are some of the basic economic and financial indicators over the period till the end of your program. Remember when in 2015 and we're looking for a 3-year program. That 3-year program would have ended in 2018. You go and you look at the Article 4 consultation paper. Every year they come and do a staff paper, basically they call it Article 4 of the IMF, where they have to look at the health of each economy. One that was published in 2015 it set out that based on the work that the President Mahama and his government had done, based on the fact that we had worked to bring in 2 new oil wells and a few others, they were expecting the GDP of our country to move from 3.3% in 2016 to 7.4% in 2017 and 8.4% in 2018. Now, let's go and look at what was the actuals that panned out. You go again and you go and look at, if you go and look at the same IMF document in 2021, right? When they came back and did another article 4 in 2021, you would see how they show what the actuals were. In fact, you don't even need to go that far. Go and look in our own budget and work out what was the economic growth that we secured in those years that we are talking about. And once you look at that, you'll be left in no doubt that it was not through any genius of the MP that we achieved what was achieved in 2017 and 2018. Why do I say so? Look at 2018. 2017, our economic growth was pretty much bang on in line with the prediction made by the IMF, right? You go in and look at the economic growth we had in that period, and it was pretty much around 9.8% approximately. So if you then look at what the IMF predicted versus exactly what we achieved, you will find that there is nothing special that the MPP did. In fact, we hit 8.13%, which is just a few, like 20 basis points or 0.2% above the 7.8% that they predicted. This was predicted even before they won the 2016 election. So what exactly did they do to achieve that? You go to 2018, and then it declined to about 6.2%. But again, it had been budgeted to be 7.4%. So clearly, you look at those 2 periods, and you realize that that government could not be responsible for it. Yet the man says that they are the ones who came in, stabilized the economy, fixed Doomsaw, fixed NHIS and other routes, and made sure the economy grew by that. The reality of the case is that the same Bawumia in March 2016, at least 9 months before election, admitted on Joy FM that Mahama had solved Doomsaw but didn't deserve credit. That is the same man now coming to tell us that he solved the Doomsaw issue. You go into some of the very farcical things that Bawumia starts talking about. He starts to put graphs there, and this is where his dishonesty, academic dishonesty, barefaced lies, take a very frightening trend. You have him there telling us, and this is very interesting. The man tells us that the average growth of Ghana between 2013 to 2016 was 3.9%. But then he goes to say, for his government, the average growth between 2017 to 2022 was 4.9%. Therefore, they are 1% better than the NDC. The question I am asking is, Bawumia is currently the vice president and chairman of the economic management team of the MPP since 2017. So I expected that he should have been telling us the growth from 2017 to date to 2023. At least 2023 is finished. We are waiting for 2024. Now, President Mahama, incidentally, was also the chairman of the economic management team and vice president between 2009 to 2012, and then became president from 2012 to 2016. So you should be taking President Mahama's full period from 2009 to 2016, not cut out a certain period. But Austin, do you know why this man did that? Because he is damn right dishonest. Now, let me say to our viewers here, when you go in, the beautiful thing is that I took my time and went to the World Bank. There's something they call the World Development Index. It gives you the records for all the countries, right? And it tells you this. If you go and look at what Bawumia did, Bawumia deliberately, he knew very well that the period from 2009 to 2012 had very good growth. So what did the guy do? He decided to cut out 2009 to 2012, because once you look at 2009 to 2012, you'll find that the NDC recorded an average growth of 9% per year. That is the period in which, under President Mahama's chairmanship of the economic management team, we scored 14.1% economic growth in 2011, 7.9% in 2010, 9.2% in 2012. So when you average just the first term of the NDC, you get 9.2%. So he goes to put that aside and only now comes to consider 2013 to 2016, which gives him the 3.9 that he wants. Now, if you were to average the full period that President Mahama was vice president or president and take the average, you are hitting an average of 6.7. Why did he cut out the first 4 years when President Mahama was vice president and chairman of economic management team? Perhaps he should have even said, oh, I will only use your period where you were chairman of economic management team because I am also chairman of economic management team. No, he cut that one out. Then when it comes to the same MPP performance, look at the interesting thing. He decides that he will go for 2017, and you know where he's going to end? He will go 2017 to 2022. Why? Again, here, look at this. From 2017, when you average it to 2022, you get 4.92, which is exactly what he put in his paper. But he refused to include the 2023 figure of 1.5. That was IMF projection, and by October 2023, World Bank had confirmed it.
Don't you think it's because, I'm not cutting you short, based on what you're saying, he mentioned like, because the economic decline was as a result of the Russian-Ukraine war, and the pandemic. Don't you think that these two factors might have been contributed to the decline, as you just said, from that period?
Good question. But this is the irony of it. The COVID happened in 2020. So if you say because of COVID, you are not going to, you stop, then you should stop at 2020. Ukraine war is 2022. It's still ongoing. In any case, let us look at you see, Bawumia lied that COVID is the biggest financial triggered crisis that has hit the world since 1927, the Great Depression. That is wrong. The heaviest was the 2008, subprime mortgage crisis that led to a full-blown financial crisis in 2009. That was one of the reasons why the Europe Jet project that President Kufuor started disappeared. Because remember credit crunch, nobody was lending to anybody, not even to governments. The NDC suffered that in 2009, and yet we recorded what? Growth of 4.8%. That explains why we struggled then. In 2009-10, Lehman Brothers went bankrupt. Royal Bank of Scotland in this country went bankrupt. A lot of bankers, Bear Stearns and the like, they struggled. There was a commodity price crunch in 2014. You had even Dubai suffered financial crisis. Greece hit the wall. If you remember the Eurozone crisis, who are the ones who lent to us? Europe, right? You come to 2014, we had a commodity crunch where the prices of commodities were severely depressed because of consumption issues in China. Cocoa prices were down, gold prices were down. We were struggling to get income. Not far from that, we had Ebola hitting us hard. President Mahama built Ebola centers across this country. In fact, one of the Ebola centers built at the Accra Upper East Regional Hospital in Bolga is what Nanado used for his COVID matters. So every economy will be beset by external forces. No economy lives in a bubble. And so you can't use those excuses. But in any case, COVID actually was a plus to this government because we only needed 12 billion to fight COVID. We got almost 3 times that. We got 30 billion Ghana cedis for that. So COVID actually staved off Ghana's economic collapse because by 2019, World Bank's debt sustainability analysis had diagnosed Ghana as severely debt stressed. So you cannot bite here and there. But you see, what the fundamental point I wanted to put forward is when you go ahead and look at the exact comparison and you take the full economic data, you realize that the NDC's term under President Mills and President Mahama, the first term from 2009 to 2012, the average economic growth was 9%. The second, at that, if you take the NPP term from 2017 to 2020, their term was 5.3%. So we beat them by over 4%. Then you come to the second term, 10 for 10. The NDC second term, average economic growth from 2013 to 2016 is 3.9%, as Bawumia put there. So you see, he was selective. He refused to take our 9%, and then he goes to take their best percent
period. The same second term of MPP as we speak now, if you include from 2021 up to 2024, the projections for 2023, which have been actualized at 1.5%, and the projection for 2024, which is 2.8%. If you include it all and you add 2024, their average comes down to 4.4%. If you ignore 2024 and say, oh, because 2023 is gone, let's only look at the years that are gone, forget the new year coming in, then it actually even comes down to 4.23. If you now decide, let me add the full 8 year for 8 year, right? NDC's average from 2009 to 2016 under President Mahama's leadership as Vice President and President subsequently is an average of 6.4% every year. To be specific, 6.47% growth. MPP from 2017 to 2024, if you add the projection, the average reduces to 4.4%. So if you look at first term, we get 9%, they get 5.3%. Second term, we get 3.92%, they get 3.2%, 3.22% to be specific. You do the full year 8 year averages, we get 6.47%, he gets 4.3%. But the man deceptively decided to use our second term of 3.9% because it's lower than theirs, and then went for their first term, which is higher. You should be comparing first term with first term. You don't compare a primary 1 student with a primary 5 student. Primary 1 with primary 1 and 5 for 5. I can't tell you that, oh, when I wrote my YE, BEC, I got a distinction. I'll compare it to what you wrote when you wrote SSE. It doesn't make sense. That pattern carries on. In fact, he makes the biggest mistake. After dealing with the overall GDP, he decides to break them and go for industry and go for, agric. Surprise, surprise. Because we don't have time, I won't go into the details.
Time are running up for me.
Yes. Surprise, surprise. You'll find out again that Bawumia has yet again did exactly that. He lied. The NDC's first term, our average industry growth from 2009 to 2012 was 16%. Bawumia ignored that. Our second term was 2.9%, which is what Bawumia correctly put there. Then MPP's first term from 2017 to 2020 was 7.5%. We did 60%, they did 7.5%. First term. Second term, they are at negative 0.25%. Yet the guy deliberately takes our second term, which is lower, to compare to his first term, which is higher, and says we are leading. The guy carries on with the same deceptiveness in, out every single time. Let me go quickly into his vision. I'll only tackle one element of his vision. We'll go into the others in due course. The man tells us that he envisages putting a flat tax. That is the most illiterate view. Even economics 101 student will not go down that route. Because you see, in taxation, there's a principle that those with the bigger shoulders should bear a higher burden. And that is why in Ghana, you first have your tax allowance. After that, if you have a certain amount, up to 3,000 or so, you only pay 10%. Then if you, though it keeps going up to 35% for those whose income is almost like what, 15 to 30,000 a month. Now think about it this way. Governor Addison earns over 120,000 Ghana cedis every year, $10,000, I'm told, every month, not year. I have that small watchman at Governor Addison's house, the watchman security, who is probably earning 3,000 Ghana cedis a month. Under the current regime, Governor Addison will pay more because he will be paying 35% of his 120,000. So you are going to get at the very least almost what? Something around 40,000 of his 120,000 will be taxed. My poor watchman will pay 10% of his what? 3,000, which will give you 300. Under Bawumia's new approach, all of you will pay the same flat tax 10%. So that poor watchman will still pay 300 of his 3,000. That's a larger share of his income. But then you give Governor Addison 10%. So of his 120,000, he's now only paying 12,000 instead of 40,000. That is an example of what we call regressive taxes. Taxes that put the burden on the most disadvantaged, on the lower earners. Because without watchman, When you take the 300 out of his 3,000, 10%, and leave in 2007, he doesn't have enough to pay rent. He doesn't have enough to even feed. But for Governor Addison, even if you take the 40,000 out, he still has over 80,000 there to feed himself. So why would you reduce his tax from 35% to 10% and keep the poor man's tax at 10% and tell us that you are Vasco da Gama, you have discovered something new that will save us? Not only is this going to reduce income, it is also a regressive way by hitting the poorest hardest. We are already in debt deficit. We are already being dribbled around by IMF. We just struggle to get even second release. We are going to go and reduce this tax. You think IMF will approve it? IMF will not.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman, for your points. I will come back to you. I've got a couple of questions in regards to your response, but I'll have to go to another panelist. Ken Johnson, you've listened to Bawumia's speech, and what do you think? What's your take on that? And what do you think about Bawumia's vision for Ghana if elected as president? Please, share with our audience what you think about Bawumia's vision and his speech that was given on the 7th.
All right. Thank you, Austin, Dr. Austin, and thank you for having me on your show. I think this is my first time coming here. So
you are welcome.
Good evening to your viewers as well. Yeah, I mean, I, for the first time in my life, decided to pay attention to the so-called hyped speeches of Bawumia, to watch it live. Because most of the time you just read after the event has happened. So I took the pains, and for that an hour and a half or 2 hours or so that he spoke, which later became about 73 pages statement. My few words that I picked up was it was hollow. There was nothing in it apart from lies and if you call it comicry. It was purely to entice a certain class of his audience without considering the general view of the good people of Ghana. And then you go through it in depth, you realize that he's trying to distance himself from the ills and bad decisions that he was part of. And I'm going to explain to you why I'm saying that it was full of comedy. I think Chairman Conrad was spoken about his body language. I don't think it's also just that. It also talks about the fact that you could hear or feel that the audience were not giving him the response that he needed. And that was in itself discontent or disconnection between what he was saying and what he was hoping to achieve. And if you look at some of the wordings he picked or used, they were purely to satisfy a certain cluster or a certain constituency within his figment. And I'm wondering why a man with over 35 staff in his office would be allowed to go and show such comicry to the glare eyes of every Ghanaian. Now let's look into the issues. First point is that the speech lacked convictions, because you could tell that there was no belief in anything that he was saying, because everything was purely lies. The way he picked on his data, and I'm not going to go much because Chairman Conrad has spoken about it. The way he picked on his data in comparison, you could see that there's huge issues with them. No student of economics or nobody who is seriously into research would do such a job and be scored 100%. If I was marking him, I would mark him against his own standard and say the least he could get will be 2, and that 2 will be said he has shown an effort. That is how I'll mark him, and that is the feedback I'll give you. It was just that he showed an effort, not that he did any brilliant work, because he lacked convictions. He says that he was only a chairperson for the economic management team, and their job was to advise. But then his boss, who gave him that mandate to chair that economic management team, made economics a profile for his selection as a vice. So obviously you could not just become a chairperson to advise, but also to see through the decisions that the government was embarking on. Bawumia distanced himself from the corruptions that has happened in the NPP. And I just Googled it. The number of corruptions recorded so far in Ghana under this administration, and it's counting over 100. And the writer says, and counting, this is from Ghana Web. The first episode of corruption that we recorded, or Ghanaians learned, was that over 10,000 fertilizers went missing in the northern part of our country. This is in 2017. And if a man who understands economics and wanted to instill confidence in the system, having spoken widely about bad fiscal indiscipline in the previous administration, having talked about why we should not even go out and borrow, would have taken it serious to say, why should 10,000 of fertilizers for the cocoa farmers be missing? That was not part of his speech. He didn't even talk about it. He did not even make mention of any of the issues that Ghanaians have been asking questions on. Now, let's look into the issues here. Let me put on record that the NPP is hoping to use Bawumia to break the 8. But my senior brother from America would confirm to me that in the US politics of using vice to become president, out of the 15 vice presidential candidates who have actually been nominated to become president, only 8 of them succeeded to become president. And that was not on election. It was on the fact of the death of the president. And I think Ghana saw something like that when we had President Mills of blessed memory passed on and President Mahama took over before President Mahama became a president in 2012. So I'm not wishing death on Akufo-Addo, but I'm saying that this is a fact. So Bawumia is battling with some optics that is not in his favor. Only 4 of these vice presidential candidates from the US political spectrum became president, but after they have lost power and came again to contest. Maybe Mike Pence would have become the next person, but he's bowed out already. So breaking the 8 is not going to happen anywhere. It is not in any way going to satisfy the system created within the psyche of voters, because voters think that they have failed. Bawumia was part of why PDS came on board. Bawumia was part of why we decided to go to IMF. Bawumia is part of why Momo tax came in. Don't forget that when they brought in the taxes, they decided to have a cake celebration where it's a e-levy has come to stay. His wife and the president's wife were the people who did the honors. How on earth can he say that he was just a mere mate? You and I have taken trotro before, and we still do. Who collect the vehicle's money, the trotro's money? It's not the trotro, it's not the mate. It's not a mate. So if the mate is collecting the money, then the driver only ensures that he goes and makes the sales to the car owner, which is you and I being the stakeholders. So when stakeholders are dissatisfied about the way the economy has run for the past 8 years, and you are coming to tell me that, oh, I was only the mate, obviously it means that your master must be sacked. We need to change your driver, and we're also changing the mate. So whoever came out with that analogy that, oh, I'm only the mate and I need you to give me the steering to manage the vehicle for you, to me is pure malarkey. It is pure unscientific. You have seen on WhatsApp before when a man was fighting with a mate about exchange of 50p in Ghana, 50 pesos. We all saw it. We thought, how can he be fighting for 50 pesos? But that should tell you the scale at which poverty has evaded many Ghanaians, and people were just scrambling for anything they can get hold of. So Bawumia talks about he came into politics to serve the good people of Ghana. I think page 157 or so of his statement. Then he talks about he didn't come to make money. Okay. He should tell us who went into, or who's gone into politics to make money. It is only Akufo-Addo's government that I know that people who are paupers can just turn their life around and become rich men. And Ghanaians know it. Him, Bawumia himself, is aware of it. It is under Akufo-Addo that individuals who we know were trolling around trying to find Papa can now say they are millionaires under Akufo-Addo. The president's own communication secretary's wife came out. Eugene Hine is a typical case of the corruption we have seen under the MPP, and therefore an economics who is in charge of the economic management team, having flouted around saying that it's a fantastic team, cannot say that I was only an advisor. What about the members? If you are just an advisor, what about the members? Why would they come compass together, or why were they brought together to do what? Just to tell Mr. President, we can do this by just choose not to.
Let me ask you this before you proceed. In Bawumia's speech, you were saying that you made mention of not being able to, I mean, you know, he hasn't done anything, being advisor or whatever, but he made mention of digitalization being a key point, a central point of, his speech, that he brought digitalization, modernizing the Ghanaian economy. And why are you laughing? I haven't even finished my question. He brought digitalization, modernizing Ghana's economy. And I quite remember him saying that because of the digitalization, the 24 hours economy is something that is already in motion, you know, due to digitalization. So, what you said, in response to that he initiated that digitalization, modernizing Ghana's economy, and so Ghana's economy is already running 24 hours. Therefore, President Mahama's 24 economy policy is nothing new, in the system.
I was going to come to, but it's a good question at the right time. So the history and the literature around digitalization in Ghana cannot be by the MPP administration in 2017. It started way before they even came to power. President Mahama made a conscious effort to open up our fiber networks, our broadband system, because you have to put in infrastructure before you can move into the soft skills aspect of things. So we have the Accra ICT Center, we have some in the Western region. These are things that were aiming to help the younger generations to prepare for the broader benefits of digitalization, or for businesses to also tap into it. And under Mahama, an agency called NITA was created. Okay, under Mahama, they trained a lot of people to help the ministries to now move away from the so-called mundane way of using paper to a digitalized form. Bawumia says he has done so much, and today about 90% of MMDAs from his speech are all under the .gov platform. My question I ask is, why is it that it's still possible for you to go to, say, a Ministry of Finance and want to have a conversation with the minister or a conversation with the director of administration, and the director will give you his personal email address under a digitalized world when you say you are opening up business? It is not possible. So he has not done anything. He took an advantage of the so-called plan, which was working towards mobile money interoperability. And he said, oh, I'll capture it and make my project. Before MPP came, we were sending money with our mobile phones. So it is not Bawumia's credit. If credit has to be given, it must be given to President Mahama. Before Bawumia came, banks were issuing ATM cards. We had ATMs in the system. Before Bawumia came, a banker from Zenith Bank could easily go to commercial bank and use his bank card and then withdraw money. So how on earth does that become Bawumia's credit? as the previous speaker said, it was a purely constructed lies perpetrated to and make him look like he's a god of Ghana. But unfortunately, optics is not looking good for him. What I expected Bawumia to say was, guys, I know I was part of an administration, but certain things I said we have not done. But these are the things maybe I fought for but could not happen. I was expecting him to say that. You saw $89 million sent into a contract of Kenny GVG. Bawumia was there, a chairman of the economic management team. You saw such contracts going into individuals' pockets. You saw the National Health Education Authority was so much wrought, which the audit service came out to report on. He was part of it. What I saw with his speech was that he spoke about so many things, thinking the Ghanaians are not aware. Now, Austin, you tell me this. You are Ghanaian. A child born in Ghana today knows that Ghana is endowed with minerals. It is clear. We all know it. It is in our books. A child who is even unborn knows that when you are born to be a Ghanaian, Ghana has gold and all the minerals. It is clear. Because it is in our DNA. An adult, touchwood, who is an adult knows that Ghana is blessed. The problem we have is the mismanagement. The problem we have is fiscal indiscipline. So if you say we have done a research and we can think about having about $10 trillion of gold deposit in our country, which is amounting to about 500 ounces of gold. And if we can tap into 5% of it, the next question I want to ask an economist is, so how do we ensure that the profit of it will go to the ordinary people? He says he is going to commercialize our mineral sector, reform it. But you are part of it. Why today our water bodies are all turned into
Mr. Dawson, run it up for me, please.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, he's part of it. Why today our water bodies are turned into something which is there that today we can't even have potable water to drink. So how can we be confident for him to come in and now control it? Bawumia is only coming in to ensure that Wontumi continues to continue his bad behaviors in the way he has been managing our mineral resources. Bawumia says that I want to give power to the MPP people to continue their bad behaviors. But Ghanaians are not prepared to see such continuance of misbehavior happen. And that is why I think that what he's hoping to achieve to bring President Mahama to his level at this moment in time will not happen. The records of Mahama against Bawumia are wide. Mahama fought corruption. Bawumia cannot fight corruption. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ken Johnson, for your contribution. You are listening to the Direct Talk Show. This program has been designed to educate you. We discuss issues going on in Ghana every Sunday, 7 p.m. UK time. As I always say, if you are not in the UK, kindly check your local time on Google so you can join us every Sunday live on Facebook and on YouTube. If you've got any questions or any comment, you can share it on our Facebook page, that is Have Your Take Media, or YouTube, that is HYT African TV, and we will answer your question or read your comments. A couple of comments have come through. I will be reading them very soon. But before I do that, I just want to go to Elijah. Elijah is a pharmacist. Elijah, you've listened to Bawumia's speech and his vision for Ghana. I just want to hear or tell us, our audience, what your views, what you think about his speech and his vision for Ghana.
Thank you, Dr. Justin, and good evening to all your listeners and my fellow panelists. I'm going to approach it in a slightly different way to my two predecessor speakers. First, I want to look at how Bawumia portrayed himself in that speech from a professional, healthcare professional perspective. I'll also look at the evidence about the two periods that he spoke about. That is the period under NDC or John Mohammed administration and the period of the current administration. Then I will look at some realities on the ground and maybe a word or two on corruption, as he said he was determined to fight it. And then I will have some advice for Bawumia himself and his followers. So how did he portray himself on the day? As a healthcare professional, if you've ever gone for a blood test or any kind of laboratory investigation, there are parameters we always look at. We look at the minimum and the maximum, that is where it must be to be classed as normal between two lower and upper parameters. So anywhere between that is classed as normal. Anywhere outside that means it requires further investigation and possibly some kind of intervention to bring things back where they should be. So I'm looking at this in regards to Bawumia's speech, from a psychologist's point of view, and I'm not a professional psychologist, but I did study a little bit of psychology and we practice it on a day-to-day basis. You saw a man who was very jittery, had excessive body movements, and those are things that are classed outside the norm. He was sweating profusely and sometimes speaking in a way that makes you wonder if all his faculties are where they should be. To me, that was a man who was unsure of himself, probably unsure of what he's saying, and all are classical body language signs of somebody who is not saying the truth. And as the psychologist will tell you, if there is a conflict between what somebody is saying and what their body is saying, believe the body, because body never lies. So from what I saw from a health professional's point of view, Bawumia spewed nothing more than absolute lies and garbage to the good people of Ghana. And it was absolutely shocking that he had distinguished people in the hall, including our former president, His Excellency President John Agyekum Kufuor. I mean, to lie between your teeth in presence of such dignitaries suggests that you don't respect the people you are addressing, and it's just below the belt, if you like. So I mentioned I would talk about examples, and these are records from the World Bank and the IMF records. Back in 2016, one of the indicators that they use to judge how well a country is being run is poverty levels. Back in 2016, Ghana's poverty level was 13.3%. And guess what? That was better than the sub-Saharan average, and it was also better than the middle-income countries' average. Fast forward to 2023, just last year, Ghana's poverty level was 27%, more than twice as bad as it was in 2016. And this is during the stewardship of the so-called economic management experts, the competent ones, if you like. He kept castigating his our former president, His Excellency John Mahama, as the incompetent one. So if the incompetent one could bring down poverty levels of Ghanaians to 13.3%, and you took over touting yourself as the better manager of the economy, and you double our poverty levels in less than 8 years, what does that make you? Does that make you the competent one? I beg to differ. So that is one example. Another example is what a lot of us have become very, very familiar with. Those of us in the diaspora, we are very, very conversant with exchange rates. And he made a famous speech about that Ghana's Mahama took an exchange rate of 1-to-1 from dollar to cedi to 4.2. So if the incompetent one, through an 8-year period, and mind you, he's not an economist by profession. So you, the economist, that your party touts you as the best thing that's ever happened to Ghana, your own wife spoke about it, you yourself keep talking about it day in, day out, and if you are of the NPP family, nothing better has ever happened to Ghana than Dr. Bawumia. And you have taken our exchange rate from 4.2 to over 12 to the dollar. Then what have you done? Where is your competence? What is your economic management record? So you see that if you look at these examples, what he talks about is a complete mismatch from what we know. And now I said I was going to talk about realities on the ground as well. Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia comes from the same region that I hail from, the Northeast region, which is the youngest region in our country, one of the youngest and possibly the smallest. He has been vice president of our country for the last 7, getting to 8 years now. Just go to his own home region of the Northeast region, the main trunk road that feeds his hometown of Wale Wale to the rest of Northeast region. Go and look at it for yourself. It's a road that is not even fit to transport livestock, let alone transport human beings. Just on Friday, our former minority leader in parliament, Honorable Haruna Idrisu, in his radio interview, mentioned that he spent Christmas in the Nakwanduri Bumprugu townships constituency. And he saw the road for himself. And at some point, he kept praying to his God, is he going to reach his destination? And this is the home region of Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. So you did not see any sense to make the main trunk road in your Northeast region more trouble for the good people of Northeast region. But you find every reason to believe you are the best thing that ever happened to Ghana. And for that matter, people must make you the president so that you stop.
Mr. Elijah, don't you think it's the reason why we need to give him another chance so that he will be able to fix some of the problems you are mentioning? Because somebody will also say that President Mahama has been a vice president, and you are asking Ghanaians to also give him a second chance or a third chance. So why don't you say that, okay, we're going to give him another chance so that he can fix the problems?
Great question. If he had given us some indication that he's doing something right and moving our country in the right direction, we might consider that. But so far, every indication shows that he's moved us in the wrong direction. So whether he was driver's mate or whatever, what that tells me is he failed to learn on the job. So if you're not able to do things right when somebody else is supervising you, that does not give me any confidence to think you will do anything right if you are now the main person. Nobody will be supervising you then. So you are more likely to take needless risks. You are more likely to do, excuse my language, stupid things that will take us much further into the wrong direction than we need to be. And then one other area I spoke about is, or I wanted to speak about, is corruption. If you look under this government, they have actually made corruption fashionable. Under no time during the John Mahama administration did you ever hear of a minister having over $6 million under their bed. In fact, the very mention of amassing wealth to themselves led to the dismissal of a deputy minister of state. And that is to show that John Mahama was somebody who does not countenance corruption at all. It was mere mention, not even contemplated or practiced. Yet he took action. These people, we have seen a minister who has reported to the police about such a colossal amount of money being missing from their house. And evidence actually pointed to discovery of more money from her house. And what have we seen? The courts have ordered that every single penny should be handed back to her. Not anything, not a single word mentioned about the source of it, how she may have come about it, what she's doing with so much money in her house. And Bawumia wants us to give her the chance. So what I would advise Dr. Bawumia is, you are not ready to be president. He may well be at some point down the line, but at this stage, he has not learned the job well. So for goodness sake, it is not a force, it's not compulsory that you must move from the VIP to become president. You are not doing things right. So please spare Ghanaians the heartache and leave us where you've brought us to so far. We can't afford anymore. And to his followers, look, we have all seen the direction in which he's taking us. We have all seen the lies or the degree to which he's prepared to lie in order to get to the presidency. Let's not give him that opportunity. So far, he has not done the right things for you and me. He's made us poorer. He's made us the laughing stock of our region and continent. And please, 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 for goodness sake, let's leave it there and go back to the experienced one who did everything to move us in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Elijah, for your submission. You are watching the Direct Talk Show, a show that has been designed to discuss issues going on in our motherland, Ghana. You can send in your questions, and then we will pass it on to our panelists to answer. Today, we are discussing a speech that was given by His Excellency Dr. Bawumia Bawumia, the Vice President and the flag bearer of LPP, the ruling party of Ghana, his vision and what he plans to do if elected as President of Ghana. And that is what we are discussing today. As I said, you can join the discussion by sending in your comment and your question. Mr. Elijah, so what do you think about the speech so far? What do you see? What would you say in regards to what Bawumia said, the vision, and everything that he mentioned? You've seen the speech, you've watched the speech. So, what is your take on that?
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Justin, and good afternoon and good evening to our listeners, my panelists as well. Again, I think enough said about Bawumia's speech. I remember we are talking about speech. We are talking about a lecture. We're not talking about an engagement. Engagement because for me, when I saw the announcement and the flyers, circulating on social media that once again, after a very long time, we're going to sit by our various media platforms, radios, our TVs, and listen to a man who long ago used to lectures and fora lecture halls of universities in a country, propounding theories from textbooks and all over the world, from wherever. Okay, and people were clapping for him in those days, and so the job that he was seeking, as was brought by the president Akufo-Addo, then the candidate, to convince his own tradition, his own MPP parties, that even though this guy is not a member of our party, he's not grounded in our tradition and our principles, let's give him a chance, just like myself. So he led, as the arrowhead, he led the campaign. And our challenge then, as it is today, was about economy. People were thinking about their pockets, how to get food on the table for themselves and their families, how to get jobs. So they brought this parrot to be propounding to certain questions for senior men who are very experienced in public office, in various sectors, including the economy. Remember, the former late Vice President Misata had been in a system as a technocrat, as a deputy or minister of economics for a very long time. Not only that, but he also lectured, just as Bawumia wanted to do from time to time. So he was very experienced. And then this man picked a textbook and decided to set some questions for him. I want to find out from Bawumia whether he has been able to answer those questions. In fact, people have asked him already. I don't think he will answer any question. He doesn't answer any questions. In fact, prior to him climbing the platform to speak on that evening, I was expecting that he will change his style, because he was presenting himself to the citizens to be considered for an extension of his employment and get promoted to the next level. So I was expecting that you would want, as a candidate, a prospective employee, you would want your employers, the citizens that you are going to engage, ask you questions, set questions for you to address, express what they were expecting or how you have brought them by your economy, for you to engage them in a roundtable conference, perhaps as a second section to your lecture, for you to address, so that they will leave home with some clear minds. You rather left them at the end of the day with questions lingering all over. And that's why many media platforms, like this one that we are talking about, a lecture, he came to tell us lies. He thought he's very smart, and that the intelligence, if there's anything like an intelligence college that you will attend and get equipped with intelligence, he thought that he's the only person who has attended a state college called the College of Intelligence. He thinks that he's the only person in this world, in Ghana, who has acquired some certificates or credentials in being smart and being deceptive and take everybody for granted. He thought after telling, granted that those schools are available, he thought he's the only person who attended, and as soon as he and his colleagues completed those schools, the schools were closed. He doesn't have any regard for Ghanaians. He doesn't have regard for people who have attained intellectual capacity like himself, if he has one at all. He doesn't have regard for anybody who's experienced in this world as a Ghanaian or as an expert in a certain field. He came to spew lies, manufacture figures, manipulated figures, and spew them on us and walked away freely, sweating like a pregnant fish that has come out of water. So for me, much said about Bawumia in terms of the manipulation of figures is much said. Let's leave it there. We shouldn't give him the opportunity to set agenda for us. Sometimes, if you think through it, you will think that Bawumia just want to divert attention, create some scene, and then lead us. So that we spend all our energies and all our time, instead of thinking about certain things better, be talking about him and what he came to spew. So we have collapse. I believe at this stage, Ghanaians have seen the person that is. NDC speakers, NDC smart and skillful experts have been able to debunk all that and expose him. They clothed him. He's very exposed, and I don't think he'll be able, or any of his surrogates politically, will be able to come out to defend him. In fact, those who attempted in the last couple of days, they have failed. I listened to one lawyer, Kofi Bentel, a fellow of Imani Africa. If you look at the face of Imani, you look at the character of Imani, if you look at the personnel who belong in that institution, you drop your heart for some of them. Talk about Bright Simmons, talk about Franklin Kujo, and then add Kofi Bentel, and listen to him alone, sitting before the host of Newsfile, Samson Ayeni, asking probing questions. And all he wants to say is that let us forget about Mahama and give a chance to Bawumia because we have not been fair to him. Bawumia has been given all the opportunity in this world. Nobody gets an opportunity that anybody who claims to become an assistant to a substantive officer or executive. You are the vice president. In fact, you are still the vice president. In fact, unlike your other colleagues who contested at the presidential primaries, who had to resign their positions to contest, and have so far resigned, you, as a vice president, by your privilege, that privilege you have been given, and the constitutional privilege, you have been given the duty to continue performing abysmally and run for interview to be considered as a president. Now, you are positioning yourself like a political opposition officer in government, departing from the very things that you yourself and you're leading a cabinet, leading an economic management team to create and implement it on Ghanaians for a certain economic path. Our biggest challenge as Ghanaians and citizens is about the economy of the country, the economy of our institutions, and the economy of our households and our pockets. That was the assignment specifically given to you, a reason why people voted for you. In fact, a reason why you, by your credentials, people voted for Akufo-Addo, because you came from the Bank of Ghana, where you believed that a lot of money was sitting down there that you could dip your hands in. So no doubt, you, as the chairman of the economic management team, under your own supervision, you instructed, let me use the word instructed, the governor of the Bank of Ghana to continue printing money without recourse to the laws, regulation guiding the printing of money in the country. Where 75% must not be exceeded, 5% of the previous revenue should not be exceeded. You violated it like you're violating every process in the country. You violated the PDS agreement. You gave clear order and command, not instructions, to the PDS team, those who were guiding the team, to depart from clear parliamentary order, instructions, approval, that we should stick to conditions before the contract.
So, Mr. Elijah,
Yes,
sorry,
sir.
Mr. Ricketts, let me ask this one before you
Yeah.
proceed. So you don't agree with his statement that he has brought economic transformation to the country?
I don't know what economic transformation you guys are talking about. Show me what is economic transformation you're talking about.
He says he has brought economic transformation.
I want to see it. I want to see it. What I have seen so far about Bawumia is that he promised us one constituency, $1 million. Is that a transformation you're talking about? Give me the result.
Well, I'm still waiting for mine anyway, for my constituency.
So he promised us one village, one dam, especially from where he comes from in the north, where Timbo and Conrad come from. Ask them whether they have seen any dam over there or anything they can call dam. They know dam. I don't know dam. The only dam I know is around Pram irrigation project over there. That's the dam I saw under Banasco and Achampo. So if you're talking about dam, I was looking, and here I'm from Florida. Florida, here we do farming. So when you walk away from my house here to the next county, you see the orange plantations. The dams are there. The tomatoes, the dams are there. So at least I know what I will call a dam. Has he ever spoken about it? Has he given an account about the dam, the result of that project, that conception? Is he not a person who said 1D, 1F? And between him and Alan Chemati, who is claiming credit for it? He's claiming credit. He was loud on campaign platform about one district, a nice project. The concept was good, but what did he bring to bear to ensure that that concept move into a program and get implemented to take care of our import substitution, or for export at least? What do we have apart from a Kumfi orange juice? I don't know what else we are talking about. Show me after 7 years. Is that the transformation he's talking about? What has he transformed in Ghana? It transformed things to fail. If that's the transformation, then he failed us in all aspects of the jobs.
Run up for me, sir. Run up for me.
The point is this. I want to advise. In fact, Bawumia should have, but it's too late. If I were him, young as he is, he could have walked away from a failed government that he is part of. He could have walked away from that and keep his credibility, even though if there's any like that, or go back and clean his credibility. Allow the seniors, the owners of MPP, to run their own campaign and find somebody else to become the flag bearer. But we want him exactly what we want, what we have gotten him. We wanted him exactly what we have gotten him today. Very greedy, dishonest, sincere, and want to become the president by all means. Are they not breaking the age? Why is he trying to depart away from there? I thought when it comes to national elections and presidential elections, it's a referendum on the party as well as the leaders of the president and his cabinet as well as his ministers. It's a referendum on them. A reason why they want to break. So he cannot break himself away from the party that he's part of, that is leading. Bawumia needs to go and take advice. And my advice to people like, I'll mention their names, like Nana Kumia, they should not be annoying us when it comes on the radio platforms or TV platforms. They should be annoying us. And else we'll come after them. We'll send the boys after them as soon as they lose the election. And they're going to lose. So let me end.
Thank you. Thank you, Richard, for your points that you've shared. You are watching the Direct Talk Show. It's been very hot today, analyzing and breaking down the speech that was given by our Vice President, the Vice President of Ghana, Dr. Bawumia, setting up his policies and vision, and that is what we are talking about. And you can share your comment and your views. You are watching us live on Facebook and on YouTube. And I just want us to go for a short commercial break, and then there are a couple of questions that I've received, and I will pass it on to our panelists to address them. So a short commercial break, and we'll be back with your questions. Thank you.
Abraham, I am real. Now when he made that so, Abraham, my father, and see Wamio, I'm a matu, where you man, one year walking. Araya yamrao mira na wasafuni yani daso abira ya papa oh enti wayana rabie amayasu wechuma oh echuma Wona wa freye abamubio. Je, ofikesie mu adwumai. Wona wa freye abamubi. Ankani patom bebre na wawa. Na so yai na wa freye. Wabu yembio. Etina wa.
Welcome back to the show. It's been interesting. It's been hot today. I'm going to read some of your questions and some of your comments. Sorry if I'm unable to put your question through or your comment. There are so many of them and I cannot go through each of them, but I'll try to do justice to most of them as we proceed. I think one is from Amar. He's saying he's watching us live. Thank you for watching. Alfred, good job. You guys are doing more fire. And we also have somebody, the same Amar. Also, there is a brilliant show. And then a couple of comments are coming in. I'll be reading them as we proceed. But let me go to the questions that I've received. Now, I will have to direct it to Chairman Conrad. If Chairman, if you answer this question for our audience, according to the question is saying that MPP has created a lot of jobs, so there is like sort of industrial growth. So what would you say in regards to the jobs that they have created? And I think Bawumia also mentioned it, somewhere in his speech in regards to the jobs creation, and he was even comparing it to President Mohammed's 24 hours. So I think our question from the audience is asking, what would you say in regards to the jobs that the MPP government claims, they have created for Ghanaians?
Thank you very much, Doc. Bawumia seems to baffle Ghanaians. Someone is waking up in the morning, no job. They are struggling to put body and soul together, only to get told by the one who has visited this hardship and terrible economic circumstances on them that, oh, we gave you a job, you have a job. How do you give a person a job and they don't know they have a job? The last Ghana Living Standard Survey that was conducted, the 20th versions, the 7th version in 2016 put unemployment at just about 1,027,000 people in terms of the people who were 15 and above and unemployed. Around about that time, under President Mahama, unemployment rate was basically about 5.8%, roughly. Today, as we speak, unemployment rate has tripled to almost 16% in the latest Ghana Living Standard Survey. And these are statistics from the Ghana Statistical Services. This is not NDC data being made up or anybody being made up. How do you inherit? And as we know, as we speak, we have, as of, and this is at least a year or so old, 1.7 million unemployed people. And yet the man says that they have created 2.1 million jobs. The sad part of his 2.1 million jobs is that he's not even sure how many jobs he's created. Because 2 years ago, he was touted on at another of his Liathon platforms, announcing that they had created 2.2 million jobs. That's roughly, today's 2024. 2022, this man was telling us they had created 2.2 million jobs. 2 years later, 2024, they have now created 2.1 million jobs. This is one of the miracles. Apart from the miracle of making water, turning water into wine that Jesus performed. Bawumia has somewhat created a miracle where he created 2.2 million jobs 2 years ago, and you expect the jobs to go forward. He ended up now creating minus 100,000 jobs to bring it down to 2.1 million 2 years later. And funnily enough, when you had somebody you claimed was incompetent in power, the unemployment was 5.8%. Now that you, the competent one, has come, and we only had barely 1 million people out of work, Now you have come, unemployment has more than tripled to 16%, and you are telling us that you have created 2.1 million jobs, and even specifically saying 1.2 million jobs were created in the public sector. And that's the sad part. Go into Oforiate's own budgets, the budgets that you find Bawumia walking beside Oforiata like Obini Ninua, and they go and sit down and read it out. Public sector workers in Ghana are 700,000 workers. So where are those 1.2 million jobs they created since 2017? Unless they are telling us, because if you look at it, if we are at 700,000 jobs now, and you have created 1.2 million jobs, add the two, that's 1.9. It means that 1.9 million Ghanaians left the public sector or retired, so that you then created a net amount that brought you to the current 700,000 we have. So it must be then the case that 1.9 million Ghanaians disappeared from the public sector, right? He then created his so-called 1.2 million, so that when you deduct 1.2 million from 1.9, you get the 700,000. So these are the things that I don't know what economist in his right senses, I don't know what academic will know very well I'm going out there to lie. Then they wind you up like those type of old clocks, stack a whole file of falsehood in front of you, and you start blurting it out as if you are throwing back Weetabix that you have overfed yourself with. So sometimes when you listen to that, it just does not make sense. You have unemployed people sitting there. Even the little money they go to use to bet, you have taxed it. You are not coming to tell them you have given them jobs. Where are those jobs? Is it planted for food and jobs, where we don't even have the food that was planted for, and the jobs, we don't even want to talk about it?
Okay,
so,
Chairman, run it up for me.
It's based on truth.
Thank you for your input. Our audience are listening. Another question, I think that this one will, well, somebody's asking for Mr. Johnson's number. We'll deal with that later. But a question for Mr. Johnson is that I think you made mention of digitalization being implemented under President Mohammed's administration. So the question here is that somebody's asking that Bawumia was the one who introduced the Ghana card system and other, so how would you say that these things were implemented under His Excellency John Mahama?
All right, thank you. I think that's what direct talk is about. It's about educating your audience as well. The point is, in 2008, there was an act of parliament called the Act 771, which gave birth to the National Information Technology Agency, NITA. Now, if you want to check 2008, who was in power? That is, yes, it was NDC. So this was the foundation for which the NDC administration thought that this is how we want to move to ensure that we can open up the space because life is changing. Technology was moving faster than we could sort of control it. So we needed an agency to sort of help the nation to navigate that transition of change. So NITA came in, and NITA now has a lot of job that it does. Bawumia says he brought in digitalization, but I didn't even talk about the foundation for which the digital space was created. And that is the disingenuity from him. When a man lies, he can lie up to even his in-laws and never know that he's lying. Before he know, they will take their daughter from him because the in-laws can no longer trust him. Stakeholders don't trust Bawumia. If you watch that speech that he gave, I just want to add this to it. There was so much of diplomatic dignitaries that were invited. By the time Bawumia started to speak, the literature suggests that about 3 or 2 of them had remained. The rest were gone. Because even the international world could not fathom themselves sitting down to hear lies. NITA was what gave the NDC administration the chance to start to train teachers to become ICT proficient. It is there. They started giving teachers laptops. It is through NITA. You cannot talk digitalization when children go to school and we are always using pens and papers to do registers. And most of these public schools and secondary schools per se, you realize that we have a lot of things now done in the electronic arena. And NITA gave the opportunity for teachers to now begin to teach without using chalks. And that is digitalization, because you are moving away from the norms of doing things with the hard stuff to the soft skills in transition. So NITA is this. Akufo-Addo came and decided to even sack the person who was heading that agency, because they thought that everybody who was working at any agency was an NDC. They kept the person out. So is the Ghana card. When Ken, unfortunately, we bear the same day.
Unfortunately.
I know, unfortunately, because I think that I thought the name Ken was a name for people who to think. Therefore became the CEO of the Ghana Card Agency, as we will call them. Can't remember the name now. A colleague or a member of staff decided to criticize something when he had made it known to them. For some reason, best known to them, they decided to sack the person. Ghana Card became an instrument of use under Mills Muhammad administration. It was true that you could go to the bank and open a bank account with just your Ghana Card. A lot of people were having Ghana Card. You understand? So this is a transition. It was stage by stage by stage to move into the larger scale. Now, there's something that I want the person who has a question to know. Bawumia says that they brought in digitalization just because you can sit in your home and receive money from everywhere. I think we have no reason to doubt that. But the architecture was done through the auspices of Ministry of Communication under the leadership of Dr. Omani Buama. But transition came and they took over. There are a lot of things he's talking about Industry 4.0. If you read his speech, Ghana is not even up to Industry 2.0, talk alone 3.0, and talk about 4.0. The man goes through Wikipedia, picks some news items, and start to conjure them together and say, oh, this is the vision, this is the speech. You cannot have you cannot have a vision when there's no plan. A vision without a plan doesn't exist. And Bawumia is clueless. That is why, as I previously said, you saw him sweating because he could see there was no value in the words that was coming from him. And there was no substance. It was pure Wikipedia, pure. Bawumia says he's going to bring in Oyster card in Accra or in Ghana. How are you going to use that? For what purpose? I rest my case.
Okay, thank you. You are watching a direct talk show right at your comfort of your home. A lot of questions are coming in. I will pass it on to briefly to our panelists. Just two more questions because we are running out of time. So I'm sorry if your questions, not been answered. We'll try to see how best we can do as we proceed. I think, Elijah, in your speech, this question is for you. You were talking about some infrastructures and roads, and this question is that, don't you think that under the MPP government, there has been an improved public services in Ghana?
Well, the reality speaks for itself. Does the questioner feel there is an improvement in public services? I don't. I must admit I don't live in Ghana, but I do visit Ghana fairly frequently. And I interact with family and friends back in Ghana on pretty much a daily basis. So I know what is happening on the ground. And the reality is that if anything, things have gone in the wrong direction. And probably before we come to certain physical infrastructure, let's just go one step back to the digitalization thing that he's trying to claim credit for. And my brother Ken spoke about a few things that we did. I want to give tangible examples, and these were captured in the People's Manifesto, the NDC's 2020 Manifesto. These are tangible things that we did before we exited power in 2016. One was we had built the largest Tier 3 national data center with backup facility in Kumasi. We had built the Accra Digital Center, which is now being utilized to aid and abet what Bawumia is touting as his achievements. We built over 800 kilometers of fiber optic cables right from Volta region through the Eastern Corridor, through Northeast region, OT, and to Boku. We also built a 300-kilometer radius of fiber optic cable in the Accra Tema enclave. And if you remember your O-level mathematics, what is radius? If you have a center, a circle, and the dot from the center to one end, that is the radius. So that radius alone is 300 kilometers with fiber optic cable all around it. And this serves all the government infrastructure, educational facilities, homes, and so on. We have improved the clarity of our television so people can see clearer picture, clearer sound, and you can watch your soccer games in much better clarity than we used to be. These are all results of our digitalization drive. And that was just the beginning of more to come. So, and that's not to even mention the numerous affordable homes that we put up, which are left to rot because this government doesn't believe in continuity. The numerous roads that His Excellency John Mahama built throughout the entire country, the cocoa roads that some were at various stages of completion, they left them and we are unable to cart cocoa from farms to our ports, and they rot and so on and so on. Instead, what have these people done? They have dug the biggest hole in the world, spent millions of pounds or dollars destroying very, very good, high quality homes and trying to put up a national infrastructure. They pull down the La Polyclinic, leaving the great people of La without health facilities. Talk about any modern healthcare facility in the country and who built it. All the tertiary institutions you can think of today were built by NDC. So what's Bawumia talking about? You don't have the foundation to even build up on anything. And we know in the architectural world, if you want to build a very high-rising building, you need to dig down deeper. So you have a very solid foundation. So what we see is the foundation is crumbling under this government. So to talk about any forward march, building something into the future, is nothing but hollow hogwash. So let's not believe anything they're telling us.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Richard, that will be the last question. Our time is up. Bawumia also spoke about addressing the power outrages, the so-called doomsday in their regime. So what would you say to that? Was the problem solved and the MPP or NDC? I'm talking about the doomsday issue, because it's one of the things that he actually highlighted in his speech.
Well, I think he should be hearing himself when he appeared before a media engagement and spoke about whether doomsday was solved under Mahama or not, especially when he made a statement to the effect that Mahama shouldn't take credit for the solution found for doomsday, that he shouldn't take credit because he had traveled. It took him a long time to get it solved. So I don't want to hear him saying so, unless, of course, he thinks that everybody is a dummy and he's the only intelligent person in the country. That's the only answer I can give to him, because otherwise, if he doesn't want to listen to him himself, then he should go and ask Honorable Peter Amawu as well regarding the matter of doing so. You should talk to the majority leader, Cheba for Bonsu. I was in Mensa Bonsu. You should go and talk to them. See, so the person thinks that people are living in some shells and that they are starved of information. Today's world, when he says he's doing digitalization, and social media is awash with everything that somebody says, especially him being a vice president. I don't know why he should just ignore those things and be spewing lies into our faces. And it's very annoying. So somebody needs to advise that guy, because there's no value in deceiving people and running away from truth. There's nothing. You know, we met his dad, we saw his dad, you know, a very nice gentleman who is an astute public officer. If he wants to travel the path of the dad, that's fine. It will save the family's name. The father left a legacy, and he needs to also leave a certain legacy that come to honor the father's ghost and history in life. Unless, of course, it's politics as usual. You deceive and walk away and move on. If that's what he wants to play, you should go ahead. Ghanaians are very intelligent. We are designing. So, fair enough. And again, talking about digitalization, after all this that Elijah Timo has narrated, to complement what Ken has already said regarding the infrastructure that has been built, I was expecting Bawumia that having moved away from the economy, his main assignment, into a new field, a virgin field that he has no clue about. He has no clue about that field, because when he first attempted about the Asase GPS or Ghana GPS post or something like that at the beginning of the attempt, he failed. He took one of us. If many people spoke about it, and he took one of us from here, US, one of our NDC guys, member of the Pro Forum, Kingsley Motte. Kingsley Motte had to be waking me up every dawn to respond, to support it, to respond to media engagement in Ghana, Radio Gold, Joy Radio, and all.
Ran it up for me. I was out of time.
Yes, so he even had to travel down to Ghana to hold a press conference regarding the lies in that Asase GPS, whatever they call it. Bawumia doesn't know anything. Today, I was suspecting that Bawumia haven't moved to that area would have supplied our schools with Wi-Fi, internet activity, availability should have been all over the place, so that when our kids, our nephews, our nieces, our children go to the elementary schools, primary school, elementary schools, middle schools, or high schools, they will not have problems with internet availability like our kids get in this country and in our homes. What is he doing at all?
Thank you, my panelists, for your input. I do appreciate your time, Chama Conrad. Thank you for coming, Ken Johnson, Elijah, and Mr. Richard. It's been a great discussion. Unfortunately, time is not on our side. I wish we could continue the whole day, but we have to bring the program to an end. Sorry, questions are now coming in. I've told you, I'm in my audience, that please send in the questions early so we can answer them now. The program is coming to an end. Questions are now coming in, but unfortunately, we are far, out of time. So we need to bring the program to an end. We will find a way to answer most of the questions after the program. We will try as much as possible to find a way to deal with some of the questions, even if it's not live, but somehow, some way, we'll find a way to deal with most of the questions. So from today, even if we are unable to answer your question, we will try to do it offline so that we can address, each and everyone's concern. You are listening to and watching the Direct Talk Show. It comes your way every Sunday, 7 p.m. UK time. Today, we've had a very good discussion about a speech that was given by Bawumia, Dr. Bawumia, the Vice President and the flag bearer of MPP. And we've had a serious discussion about it. Next week, we promise you it's going to be massive and it's going to be huge. So stay in touch, stay in touch. It's always 7 p.m. UK time. I know people are watching, as all around the world. So as I always encourage you to do, check Google so that you know the exact time that you can tune in. So thank you. And we thank you for your time. And I will see you next week. God bless you all. God bless our homeland, Ghana. Bye for now.